Yeah. And when I decide to make my move, I just raise the sledgehammer. I'm like, get out of your car, dude. And the car, obviously, they take off. Because they're like, no matter what, if we think we could take this guy in a fist fight, yeah, he has a sledgehammer. And again, not telling that story because I'm some sort of badass, because I'm not. But I'm telling that story because of what happened next. So we're out there for longer because we're not going to let these guys ruin our night. We had a whole night of ghost hunting planned. And we had a bunch of weird stuff happen that night. But this particular thing is this particular story. So we're out there for a bit longer, and I was like, hey, dude, I gotta piss, dude. I'm gonna go behind this building. It was basically like the big field, but then if you walked a block, there was like this little mini mall type of thing. But it had like auto repair shop and stuff like that. But for some reason, we left. I think I didn't want to piss in the haunted field. So I go over around the corner. Where we listen to some classic episodes, one in particular, the one today, with a new intro, with a new thing in the intro. This episode here is episode 96, The Shadow People Invasion. It's notable for two reasons. First off, this was one of my most controversial episodes, and not for really the reason you would think. The first story is about Forrest Finn's treasure. And for those of you who listened to the show at the time, you guys know how much drama that story caused me. But if you don't know, you can go back to my YouTube video that I did on this and see all of the hate comments because all of these Forrest Finn... Now, if you don't know the story of Forrest Finn, this is going to be weird, but you'll enjoy, I think, the segment even more because you'll be listening to it going, this episode almost ended the podcast. These fanatics, these people who love Forrest Finn so much that because this opening segment, they came out in full force, try to shut down the podcast, try to get the YouTube channel shut down, try to attack my podcasting host. So there's a neat thing in this episode. It's that. Listen to the segment and go, really? People got upset by this story? I've said way worse stuff. And in a future episode, I said way worse stuff about Forrest Finn and his followers. But at the time, this innocent little story, these people were nuts and they were attacking me. I was getting emails and hate comments and all this stuff. So that's an interesting part of the story. But the second way, forget those guys. Forget those weirdos. Let them run around in the woods looking for their treasure. That doesn't exist. Sorry, allegedly doesn't exist. I had to talk to a lawyer about that whole story because of how much trouble it was causing me. But let's get to the meat of the matter. This week is personal stories, stuff that I experienced personally. And this is where we really kicked off my paranormal experiences. This episode I talk about the Shadow People Invasion. Doing episodes where I can talk all day long about other people's UFO, Bigfoot, ghost experiences. Have a good time, make fun of them, believe them, it doesn't matter. But when you're telling your own story, in the back of your head you're always wondering, is this crazy? Does this make me sound like a loon? The answer is yes. The answer is yes, it does make you sound like a loon. But you just have to tell the story, I think. Some people are going to believe it, some people won't. I think there probably is a rational explanation for all of my personal stories, but I could never come to one. I can never figure it out. So enjoy this controversial / really cool personal paranormal story of mine. This was episode 96, The Shadow People Invasion. The episode that almost ended Dead Rabbit Radio, but in the end, I think one of my coolest episodes. Because that Shadow People Invasion story really kind of set the tone for my own personal paranormal adventures. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Is there really $2 million worth of treasure buried in the Rockies by an eccentric author? And then I tell you about my own personal experiences with the mysterious creatures known as the Shadow People, today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. I hope you're having a great day too. I'm a little sleepy, but this is our last episode of the week, so that's nice. We have a really good episode today. We have a great episode coming up Monday, and I want to let you guys know now that at the end of next week, it's the end of season 2, and I'm going to take a week-long vacation, like I did at the end of season 1. So we're going to do this episode, 5 more, Then I'm going to take a week off, and then we'll come back and start season 3. Each season is around 50-something episodes, but I didn't want to end the season in the middle of the week next week, so we're going to do about 53 episodes, 52 episodes for season 2, and then I'm going to take a week off, and then we're going to jump into season 3. Because I like to kind of break it up like that, and that week kind of helps me recharge a bit. I really enjoy doing the show. I love it a lot, actually, but I also need to have like a little break where I'm able to just kind of catch up on movies and read. I have 3 jobs on top of this, so I need a little bit of me time to just kind of veg out, because I'm kind of just always doing something, especially since this podcast happened. Everything I read, everything I watch is related to the show. So I just need to take a week off in between seasons and then like just watch Sweet Life of Zack and Cody for... Actually, Sweet Life on Deck is the superior of the 2 shows, but you get my drift. Maybe I'll watch some Riverdale, actually. I heard that's good. I don't only watch stuff with a Sprouse in it, but that was just the logic there. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started here. So our first story is going to be... And I do have to forgive me. I think someone might have suggested this on YouTube, but I always try to go back and find... I was like, okay, I started looking into this, and I was like, I think someone suggested this, and I looked through my comments, and I couldn't find anything, so if I forgot it, I apologize. If no one suggested it, then I'm just going crazy. So the first story we're going to look at is the compelling case of the Forrest Fenn treasure. Now, Forrest Fenn was an art dealer. He's kind of an eccentric man around town. And this is in the 2000s, so very, very recently. He got diagnosed with cancer, and he was like, he beat it, and he's in remission, but the doctor said, you know, it can come back. And he's like, well, okay, I'm just not going to wait around to die. What I'm going to do is, if the cancer comes back, I'm going to take all these valuable collectibles. Collectibles is probably not right word for it, but he was an art dealer, art collector. He said, I'm going to take all these valuable artifacts that I have, put them in a treasure chest, walk off into the wilderness with my life story and a bottle of pills and my treasure chest, and when they find my body, they'll find all of this treasure and my story. So basically, he would just go out there, get to a nice little spot, take all the pills, pass away. Not the most concise plan, because most likely he would take a bunch of pills and then wake up in his own vomit and be super weak and be stuck out in the middle of nowhere, and it's really hard to die from an overdose of pills, but he's all groggy and then a bunch of wolves show up and slowly eat him. Not the best plan, not the best thought out plan, but what happened was the cancer didn't take out the suicide part of it. Let's go do a treasure hunt. Let's do a real life treasure hunt. Now, he grew up and he read all the books about, you know, I don't know the exact titles, but he read like mystery books and like Hardy Boys stuff, like treasure stuff. So he decides to, again, load up this chest. Now, he has a bronze chest that he begins filling with riches, basically. It says here it has emeralds, rubies, diamonds, gold coins that he'd collected at gun shows and auctions, 2 gold nuggets he got as large as chicken eggs, and an old Navajo bracelet with, and I'm quoting here, 22 prehistoric turquoise disc beads inlaid in silver. He loads up his treasure chest, goes to the Rockies, buries it at a spot that he knows. That's just the first part of it. Now he has to start the treasure hunt. So he writes a book called The Thrill of the Chase, and basically it's his life story. And in the book, it has clues to where the treasure is buried. The big part of the clues is he has a poem in there, which we'll get to in a bit, but he has a poem in there that he says if you decipher the clues, it will tell you where the treasure is buried. Now, of course, this story goes viral fairly quickly. Now, originally you could only buy the book at a bookstore in his town, and it goes for like back then a copy went for $35. The book is in high demand now. People are trying to scour the book for the clues. The poem itself is online, and it has a lot of clues. People have obsessed over this because what is in this box is valued between $1 to $2 million. And technically, that's $1 to $2 million tax-free dollars, because if you found the treasure, you could just take it home. If there's anyone who works for the IRS, I'm not saying that that's what I would do. Please don't audit me. But if you found it, you wouldn't really have to claim it. So it would be just $1 to $2 million. Forrest Fenn has said that people have come between 500 feet and 200 feet of where he buried that treasure. He also gave a clue, and he said because of his age, he's like in his 70s when he buried it, 70s, 80s, around there. He said that it would be somewhere that a man of my age could get to. So it's not like off of a cliff hang, or it's not like 20 feet underwater. It's a place that he could go. He said that when he buried it, he kind of sat there for a second and thought, did I just do that? And then he kind of laughed and he's like, yeah, I did. And he realized it was the start of this adventure. So he buried it in 2010. People have been looking for it ever since. No one has ever found it. People are reading his life story, looking for the clues, reading the poem. Now, like anything, of course, people become obsessed with it. There have been 4 deaths that are known to have happened because people were looking for this treasure. People have drowned. People have fallen off of, heights. It's people who aren't equipped to deal with the wilderness, like myself. Like, I've never spent a prolonged amount of time in the wilderness. They find this book and they're like scouring maps and they're trading clues. They have whole websites dedicated to kind of like trading clues. Of course, no one wants to give away their best clues because they're the ones who want to find it. But they're doing all this, but then once the rubber meets the road, once they go out to the wilderness and it's getting cold and there's coyotes howling and stuff like that, it's the Rocky Mountains, so it's not like the most hospitable place in America. You go out there and your civilized side starts to break down really quickly and you fall and you get injured and stuff like that. So there's been 4 deaths, people looking for this. And Forrest has said, you know what, I feel bad. Like, that wasn't the point that people were going to go out here and die. I was just hoping to give people a good puzzle to solve. He has not revealed the location of the treasure yet. Nobody's found it. He said that as gold value goes up, if the treasure chest ever reaches to $20 million, he'll retrieve it himself. That sounds like a very odd, arbitrary number. And that seems, even with gold values going up, to go from 2 million to 20 million, he's around 80 right now. So, but whatever. He's like, when it reaches 20 million, I'll go grab it myself. And which again is a really odd statement to make. Now, what happened recently was just on the 19th of October. So what was that, like last week? That was that was last week. Okay, so last week, Forrest Fenn's house got broken into by a guy looking for his treasure. In his house, even though he said it was buried in the Rockies. This guy broke into this dude's house, broke into Forrest Fenn's house, ate a sandwich, started digging up the backyard a bit, and then found a box, like a treasure chest, and grabbed it and started running out of the house. And Forrest Fenn, I believe his daughter was there as well. They ended up calling the cops. The treasure chest that he took was just full of towels. And so he was arrested, and now that guy has a GoFundMe for $25,000 to pay for legal fees and to get him back home. See, he was from Pennsylvania. He traveled to Arizona, where Forrest Fenn lives, looking for the money, even though it's not supposedly there at all, it's in the Rockies. And now he's asking for $25,000 to pay his legal fees and to be able to go back home. His family, they were saying that he was really desperate because right now his family only has $130 in the bank, and I sympathize with that. I don't think you probably did your family any favors by traveling pretty much from coast to coast. But desperation, I guess. It seems like it would cost more than $130 to get from Pennsylvania to Arizona. I guess he assumed that he was going to go there and he would find $2 million, he'd be able to go back easier. I don't know, but that's kind of weird. Anyway, so he's stuck in Arizona right now. Forrest Fenn buries a treasure, $1 to $2 million. People are obsessed with it. They've been obsessed with it for the past, 8 years. A couple people have died. One guy broke into his house. He said, and I was looking again on the article, he said the poem, he believed the clues were leading him to this house. So, let's take a look at this poem. So, I'm going to save us some time. I'm not going to read the poem out loud. It's like 16-line poem. I'm not going to read it out loud, one, because it really lacks context unless you have a map or you know the area. Two, it lacks context because the other clues are also in his book, his biography, his autobiography, The Thrill of the Chase. Three, because I believe the whole thing is a hoax and made the whole thing up. I think he made it up for multiple... the reason why I think he made it up is, and people have pointed this out too, for a man in his 70s to carry all of those items in that box. It was a bronze box. The box itself, with all of the items in it, would have weighed about 40 pounds. Now, that's not heavy for a lot of people to carry short distances,